Well, hey there, folks. Today we're going to be talking about finding the equation of a line using the point slope formula when we're given a point on the line and the line slope. Now, I'm willing to bet you know plenty of formulas out there that are hard to use, but this one is actually relatively simple. All you need in order to be able to use the point slope formula, if you can believe it, is a point on the line and the line slope. Crazy, right? It's kinda right in the title. Getting down to brass tacks, let's say that you do know that information. We're going to keep things general for now. We'll say that the line passes through the point x1, y1 and has the slope m. Well, if you want to find the line's equation, you just use the point slope formula that you see on the screen here. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Your only real job here is to plug in those values for x1, y1, and m into the formula, and then in most cases you're going to have to solve for y. But that's a really easy thing to do. Sometimes, though, you're going to get lucky and you can leave it in the point slope form. That's only sometimes. Before we take a look at our two examples here, I do want to bring something to your attention. Because the formula specifically has minus signs in it, that means that when we go to plug in our x1 and y1, we want to change their signs. Obviously, this means that if they start off positive, we're going to change them to negatives, and if they start off as negatives, we change them to positives, and then any combination of those two things. Now, you gotta understand, there are some subtleties that go along with this that are a little bit beyond the scope of this video. For now, if you can just use the formula, we can consider it a success. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple examples here, and see how we can use this formula to find these equations. Our first example wants us to find the equation of the line whose slope is 2 that passes through the point 1, 4. Our slope in this case is 2, and that's going to mean that our m value is equal to 2. So when we go to write our formula, we're going to write m is equal to 2. Our point gives us our x1 and our y1, so we can write those down as well. x1 is equal to 1, and y1 is equal to 4. Let's go ahead and write down the general formula again. The more times we write that down, the more familiar we're going to be with it, and the more successful we're going to be in the long run. It was y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. When we plug in, remember we want the opposites of our x1 and y1. That's what we said at the end of the intro there. So instead of 4, we want negative 4. M was 2, and our x1 was 1, so we want to replace that with negative 1 in the formula. Great, so let's go ahead and solve for y. We'll start by distributing that 2 on the right hand side. This gives us y minus 4 is equal to 2x minus 2. To get y by itself, we're going to add 4 to both sides, and that's going to give us a final answer of y is equal to 2x, and then negative 2 plus 4 equals positive 2. Hopefully you found that to be pretty painless. For my part, I find it to be pretty easy. But let's take a look at another example here that looks a little tougher than it actually is. Now this time we want to find the equation of the line whose slope is a third that passes through the point 6, negative 7. That 1/3 may look a little bit scary, but it's not going to change the steps that we take. The values of your m, your x1, and your y1 aren't going to change the steps, even though they may make your arithmetic a little bit more difficult. And in this case, it's really not going to be that much more difficult. Let's go ahead and get started. So again, the slope is 1/3. This means that in our equation, we're going to replace m with 1/3. We have our x1 right here, that's 6, so x1 is equal to 6. And then we also have our y1 negative 7. So we'll write that one down as well. y1 is equal to negative 7. In case you forgot it in the last 30 seconds, the formula we're using is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. We'll plug into this formula with the values we know. We want the opposite of y1, so we put plus 7 there. The slope is a third, and then we have x, and the opposite of x1 is negative 6. Distribute your 1/3 and then solve for y. This gives us y plus 7. A third times x is 1/3 x. 6 times 1 is 6 divided by 3. That's 2, so minus 2. We'll subtract 7 from both sides because that's how we get y by itself. And this gives us a final answer of y is equal to 1/3 x minus 9. And that's it. That's all we need to know about this, guys. You write down your slope, you write down your x1, your y1, you write down the general formula, and then the only thing you really need to make sure of is that your x1 and your y1 in the point are opposite in value to the x1 and the y1 you plug into the equation. Again, this is because of the minus signs in the general equation, but even if you don't understand that, as long as you remember to do it, you'll get the right answers. If you are having trouble keeping up when I did a third times -6, then you're going to have to review your fraction operations. Plenty of Auducation videos on that one, so please bolster up that skill because you're going to have to use it in a lot of these problems. If you got that down, the rest is pretty easy. Alright folks, I'm going to get going. Good luck to you. Practice, 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 and we'll see you next time.